This coffee talk, this episode of Coffee Talk, Longbow Dan. I watched your rant this morning, buddy. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I wasn't sure because when you started your initial conversation, I was like, it was much of a rant, and then like the whole elitist thing, and I was like, what is he talking about? And then when you kind of dove into you know, the whole thing on distance, and it's and that Dan, that is not a recurve traditional thing. That is an archery thing in general. That's like people telling, you know, Levi Morgan that he should not be shooting at mule deer at 70 yards. Who are we to tell Levi Morgan what to do? The dude is a sniper with a compound bow. It's crazy. It's the same. It's the same situation in the trad world and for on the hunting side of things and whatnot. So, but anyway, so this is a impromptu episode of Coffee Talk with Frank. Remember, this is how this works. If you have coffee, please put a coffee emoji in the comments, because that's what you should be doing right now. When this coffee cup is gone, the conversation is over. So the Rushmore Rumble came and went. New tournament, kind of cool. And I messaged some people as they were getting ready to compete and wish them luck, and wanted to tell them, give them positive vibes, and was like, go do it. First big competition since this whole COVID thing, really, other than Outdoor Nationals last year. And there's a different feel to competing in person. There's a different feel. I think shooting online and doing all that stuff is good. I don't think it's a fair representation of what we actually do in person. Some people are better in person than they are online. But like I said, the Rushmore Rumble came and went, and I talked to a couple of the competitors. I want to give a shout out to Jeff Ogilvy for his awesome performance. The dude is on fire right now. He has been a Barebow Project supporter and follower pretty much since day one. And I think, I also know, like, Jeff on a personal level has a different approach to, he's got a real calm demeanor, and I just love the way he handles himself. And I love the fact that he's been shooting our online tournaments. I think he has shot every single one. And surely that helps. 1 second, I got a notification I got to get rid of there. But the topic, expectation, the score assassin. I personally have learned that myself. When you find a level of success as a shooter, you quickly expect yourself to perform at that exact level all the time. It quickly becomes an expectation. Although in your brain, you have this notion like, oh, I just want to have fun, or, oh, I'm just gonna, whatever happens. That's really a facade, because you still have the expectation of, oh, I did this, or I have people watching me now because I'm this. And that's where people who fall to their own expectations, we talk about pressure. Pressure doesn't really exist. Pressure is self-inflicted. And in reality it is. I think the epiphany for me was Outdoor Target Nationals last year. Like, I had an incredible moment where I was just calm. I was super calm. Yes, see, Trevor, got that coffee emoji. You should be drinking coffee right now. So if you are, everybody, put it in the comments. But when you go into a tournament and, be honest with yourself. Be honest that that you have to realize, like, you cannot go in with the expectation that you're going to perform the best of everyone. You have to go in with the determination that you are going to perform one arrow at a time as best as possible. That's not expectation. That is mental. That is kind of like mental focus slash organization. You have to, and I guess where this goes is you cannot go into a tournament with the idea that you're just going to do awesome. You can't just perform with having a clear process of your identifiable process. You have to identify every step of your shooting process. Likewise, you need to organize the thoughts in your brain. It's not just shooting for score. You know, that's why the first arrow, that first arrow, sometimes we come out of the gates and we're great for the first few ends. And then you know what happens? We take the foot off the pedal. We take the foot off the gas, and we get comfortable and we get complacent. And then all of a sudden we have one end, and that one end goes to hell in a handbasket. Well, if that one end goes to hell in a handbasket, what do we do with our thoughts when that happens? Do we fall into expectation of, well, I know I can do better? Well, no shit, Sherlock. Of course we know you can do better. But what is your response? What is your physical response, and what is your mental response? Is your physical response to be like, is it negative? Is it like, oh, you know, well, that's not positive self-talk. And if you don't use, you know, you have to organize your brain then. You have to organize, well, how are you going to respond? If you catch yourself sulking and shrugging your shoulders and being and like rolling your eyes at yourself, those little things are going to affect what your next arrow is going to be. Don't do it. You have to understand that you care more about what your score is than anybody else does. No one gives a shit. Truth be told. That is expectation. You can't worry and expect a good score without being prepared to achieve it. Well, how do you prepare to achieve it? You identify the steps of your shot process. And with identifying the steps of your shot process, you also identify what your mental response is going to be. Your mental response must be positive. If it's not positive, it's going to turn into a train wreck. Now, I know, like, and Winker sometimes logs into these. I'm going to use Winker as an example on one way that you can use, like, the idea of pressure as self-motivation. I know Winker is big on, like, he wants to win, he wants to win, he wants to win. He goes, like his, but that's his we'll call it a trigger to mentally focus. And that's what he does. I think that works for some people. In my personal opinion, I think that the idea of concentrating on the win is, hey, Chris, how are you, bud? 1 second. I always got jokes, Chris. You know, that's a great way for some people if that's how your brain organizes it, but that's how his brain, you know, organizes what he needs to do to go in the right direction with his shooting. I bet you there's not a lot of his if he has negative self-talk, that's his way of rebuilding himself back up, with following up on how he's going to improve the next arrow, or how he's going to. Not everybody can do that, and sometimes, in my opinion, I've seen athletes do that on, hey, Frederick, I've seen athletes do that in other sports, and there's most of the time I've seen that system fail in moments of high personal value. But, you know, it's not guaranteed, and it depends on how you're wired. And speaking of that, and it's a good segue, I was talking to Jarrett Kellum this morning. I got Jarrett's permission to talk a little bit about our conversation. as you all know, Jarrett is an outstanding barebow shooter that kind of recently in the last year has come on to competing here in America. You know, Jarrett's more than capable of consistently hitting, 530, 540s. Lord knows he shoots 280s in practice all the time. That doesn't mean anything. Hold on. I got to take a sip of my coffee. Everybody, this is your coffee break. Take a sip of your coffee. So, and we're talking about this weekend and talking about like the Rushmore Rumble and stuff like that, and we were just having the conversation about like, what's your mental approach when things aren't going great? Like the testament of a good shooter, the testament of like someone who is really up on their game is the person who they have an organized response to a not so great end or a not so great arrow. It's not everybody there. We see lots of flash in the pan shooters. That's in all of archery. It's not a barebow thing. That's an archery thing. You see people who have these great runs and then all of a sudden they go and they tank. It's actually not just archery. It's kind of all of sports. But when it comes to like barebow shooters, we have so much more that we have to do right to have a good result. You have to have that organized thought process, both again with your form and your brain, and how you're going to respond when things aren't the best. Those people who constantly have that positive self-talk, the people who are not falling to expectation, they're just worried about what's happening in the moment. I say this all the time, like to my parents of my team, and to shooters in general. Like, I wish I could create like an invisible barrier that prevents thoughts from happening as if it were in the past. And you're standing on the shooting line, pretending that anything that happened in the past, your thoughts are behind the shooting line and thoughts going forward down at the target. I wish that there was a way that and this is kind of like how you have to visually, mentally create a picture of where your thoughts need to be. You need to have a barrier. You need to have a barrier on the shooting line that prevents you from thinking about arrows in the past other than your reflection immediately after the shot. Then you cut it off. You need to have a barrier to previous arrows, and you need to have a barrier of thinking about what's happening in the future. You can't control what happens in the future. You can only control what's happening right in that moment. That's what determines your response to a not so good shot. And that affects us in multiple ways. It's not just a tournament thing. Some of you probably saw like my live feed just a few days ago. Maybe I don't remember, while I was having I was having tuning issues and I was so incredibly frustrated, and that can affect you. That can affect you. Like you can't get a good tune if your form sucks. My form wasn't great. And, once I finally got the form figured out, all of a sudden my arrow started smacking middle like crazy. I finally feel like I'm shooting like myself again. And it's been a while. I haven't practiced much. It is what it is, and that's where, like, if I go into a tournament with the expectation that I'm going to perform the same way I did, in the past at a tournament where I wasn't necessarily prepared, that's not going to happen. It even goes into training. Like I'm a huge believer in periodization. You shoot a high volume amount of arrows 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks out from a tournament, and you scale it back. And anytime a shooter does that or they implement that into their training, I explain to them, listen, don't get caught up in your score. And that's one thing that shooting like periodization does. Like your scores will drop or maybe hover a little bit because you're tired, you're broken down, you're mentally broken down, you're physically broken down. And it teaches you that the idea of periodization, it teaches you to mentally organize your thoughts. You need to be as mentally organized on what you're doing every step of the way while you're on the shooting line. You need to be as organized on that shooting line as you are physically and what the steps are of your shot process. And Jared and I were talking about that, and I can't reference the conversation just because I was, oh no, wait, maybe I can. Because hold on. Okay. Yeah. We were talking about it. I'll give you, like I said, I talked to Jared. Jared gave me permission to share this with you all. Jared, he's on the verge of doing something really, really good. And I think, if you're shooting 280s, 290s, whatever he shoots in practice, and if you are going into a tournament with the expectation that that's what's going to happen, you're thinking in the future. You can't think in the future. You have to think in the now. Always think in the now. And that's kind of like a conversation we said. But he, let me see where the one part, he's like, I'll be shooting some 280s in the tournament, but I'm pushing 290s at home in practice. And I said, and my response to him was, be careful putting an expectation on it. Be careful putting a number on it. Be careful with the idea that's because now that you're saying that, you're going to feel like that's what you have to do. You don't have to do that. You just need to shoot one arrow as good as possible 60 times in a row. That's it. And like Thomas said, he's like, well, I'm a future thinker. It's the same if you shoot 210s. And I've said this before, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. If you shot 210s and you're thinking about the 210s while you're shooting your third arrow, what's going to happen? You're not thinking about the right things. You need to think about the now. That's where we have to be careful with expectation. If you expect, and desire too, like if you desire to shoot that third 10, well, what are the steps in order for that to happen? What got you the first 2 10s? Being in the shot, What's important? That was the one you have now. Yeah, Teresa. I mean, that is a Larry Wise has been teaching archery and coaching archery for a ridiculous amount of years, and that the present process thinking is what he calls it, and that's what it is. You need to be in the present. You need to be in the now. That's it. Nothing before, nothing after. And that's where people often, including myself, I'm not here to say that, I'm perfect all the time. By no means am I ever. I'm pretty transparent with my shooting and my coaching. I'm not afraid to put myself out there and be like, hey, guess what? Wasn't the best today. Here's what I did wrong. I'm definitely don't want to come across and say like, this is the only way to do it. But I will tell you that when it comes to organizing your mental thoughts, they have to be positive and they have to be in the now. That's it. So instead of saying, oh man, I sucked at aiming on that one, or my bow arm was crap, your response isn't I sucked. Your response is I'm going to do better with my bow arm on this next shot. I'm going to hold longer. And that's where the idea of, implementing draw holds and doing things during a tournament helps, because if you're not getting to your face and you draw back, no, I can't take that off. You draw back and you just get there and tip of the arrow happens to be there, boom, you let go. Well, what's happening? You're aiming too early. You're not hitting, you're not holding. And you have to, so how do you organize your thought on that next arrow? What do you do? Well, because what does the draw hold do? You mentally tell yourself, hold, 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 hold. There's been moments where I went to do a draw hold and man, I get to tip the arrow in the middle and it feels so good. I'm like, oh, I want to let go so bad. And I've gotten close a few times where I may or may not in the beginning have left a couple of draw holds go. Mentally, I wasn't organized. It was boom, get there, keep it, hold it, enjoy it, let it happen, let down, relax, take a breather, check your clock. That's where clock management comes in. Look at the clock, give yourself some time, and then shoot the next arrow. I promise you, if you learn to do a 5-second draw hold, a 3-second draw hold during a tournament, that next arrow will not be so bad, but you have to mentally organize your thoughts on when your approach. You can't just willy-nilly approach it and expect it to get better. It's not going to happen. Coffee break. Hold on. By the way, this conversation is live on YouTube as well. I can't see YouTube. If there's any comments, probably not, because we have most of our followers here. So, but it'll be there. It should be there live, and you guys can watch it. Just wanted, this conversation was prompted by Jarrett, and we go through major changes and we go through form changes, and until we organize our form changes and make sure that we're where we need to be and our tune is good, it's hard to get it all in the right spot. I've been through that myself. I'm through a huge form change, a bow change, a tune change, and now I'm finally just getting back to, and I'm way late to the game right now, no question. So I can't go in with expectation. I can only go in with a plan. And your plan you have to have multiple plans. You have to have plan A, plan B, plan C, however many, until you have a response to every little detail. You have to plan for your tune. You have to plan for the night before the competition. You have to plan for a half hour before the competition. And all of those plans it's such an undervalued thing. Going to a tournament, having snacks, using the bathroom 15-20 minutes beforehand, having water with you, drinking water while you're shooting, getting a good night's sleep the night before. I mean, there's just so many things that mentally we can be affected by that get your heart rate going before a tournament. And then you show up and you're already starting behind the 8 ball because you're stressed out from the drive over because you forgot something or you didn't eat food or whatever. Like, you be organized, be physically organized, be mentally organized, and then go from there. I mean, it's a game changer. And when things aren't going well, that's going to help you respond to them appropriately. It's just what it is. So anyways, now that my rant is over that nonsense, let's see what Teresa says. I have tried that positive mental reframing. It works. I'm a pro at beating myself up. It's helped a ton. It definitely does, Teresa. It definitely does. I it probably would have made sense to me a long time ago but I just, I succumbed to expectation quite a few times because I wasn't mentally organized. And, I think as the years go, I think my consistency would go better. And that's the plan, providing I can practice. It's pretty tough right now. I'm pretty busy, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You guys have any questions or comments? I'm about halfway done, but this bad boy is getting a little chill. I like my coffee hot. So if you have any questions, comments, experiences, talk about them. I wish I can't see, man. I wish I could see who's watching this. Doesn't show me. See who's watching this live feed. That's where we're at. I wanted to talk about it. Jarrett, thank you for the conversation this morning and being transparent about your experience this weekend. I think you're going to be a much wiser and mature shooter as your career develops. And, you got the right attitude, man. You're going to do well. You're going to do real well. And there's a bunch of shooters out there. I'll you know what? And while we're having this coffee talk, I just want to throw a huge shout out to Eric Johnson on his indoor World Series shooting. Guy's on fire. Super happy for him. He's a nice guy. He's a real super nice guy, and he's doing some awesome things. Him and Lena, and Birdie. Shout out to Birdie for breaking the Masters record. He's on fire too. Again, there's two guys that have been in this game for a long time, long time. I don't think there's any surprise there that they're able to do what they do. It'll be interesting to see how things go. Hi, Frederick. It's funny, Frederick. Which one was lucky, Birdie or Eric, or both? Tell me that, Frederick. It sounds like there's a little competition. I guess, Frederick, you're in the Masters class too, so I guess you got somebody over there pushing you. I guess for a long time though. Chris, I'm all about shooting the to-do list. Excel, Eric. Oh yeah. The sheet to do, timelines, packing, or streamline requires. Yeah, Eric, Chris, that's a great approach. I probably should do better at some of that myself. You shouldn't expect to shoot better than I practice. I just want to keep my head. I shouldn't expect to shoot better than I practice. I mean, it happens. I mean, it's happened to me before. It definitely happens. You can shoot better than you practice, but your mental response has to be super, super. Like, I feel exhausted after I shoot 60 scored arrows, just because, people. I almost look miserable when I'm shooting, but I'm not. I'm just concentrating. I can't. I'm not all like happy-go-lucky. You know what I mean? A little bit, but I like to concentrate. I like to think things through. I'm not being analytical. I'm just being sort of just determined. Yeah, maybe he was lucky. Were you shooting with him, Frederick? I kind of bowed out of the Indoor World Series because I didn't have a bow set up, and I was like, why should I even frustrate myself? And then I got called into that archery abroad shoot off thing. I haven't shot one of those in months, and I had to shoot against Demer with a bow that wasn't set up, and I was like, oh my gosh! And then finally figured that all out, and it was good. 60 arrows kicked my butt. Yeah. Let's see here. Jackson. Visualization was huge for me this past weekend. I'm trying to see your full comment, bud. Hold on. Up in Yankton, it was the first time I shot an indoor tournament with my bare bow. So I had never shot on the line with Jarrett and some of the others. However, I had visualized some shooting hundreds of those shots next to those guys. So my nerves weren't able to take over the line. That's something to go and continue to do future tournaments. Yeah, yes, absolutely. And as your experience goes, I don't know how much, the visualization might not play as big of a role as you gain more experience. But I think visualization and running through the steps of your process, like just mentally doing them, but simply taking let me see if I have it here. I don't have that one. Hold on. I do have one. It's hanging right here. Have a stretch band and run through them. Run through them. Go through that process. Like, you can't be overly serious, but you can't be lackadaisical either. You have to have a real approach to what you're going to do. You don't lower your focus to shoot lower than what you shoot in practice. Your goal is to hit a PR every time. It's just how do you mentally prepare yourself to do that? You don't think about score. You think about the arrow. You think about shooting that one arrow. You think about the process of shooting that arrow and what are all the steps that go into shooting that arrow, and being mentally focused while at full draw and being mentally organized while at full draw. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, maybe they're not the best words. I don't know. I've never heard anybody else tackle the approach of talking about it. But again, if expectation takes over instead of mental organization, a formula for disaster, everyone, and it affects all of us. It can affect all of us. Frederick, no, he lives an hour away, not that long, but I'm lazy to drive just to shoot. That's funny. You're funny, man. Yeah. And then there's Corona. Yeah, I understand. Sorry, I was tapping to see the rest of your comment. I couldn't see it. So yeah, I get that, man. And that's I can honestly say, like, this year, the motivation to shoot has been like this for me. Just with everything going on, and it's been a crazy, stressful year. I will admit, after getting my vaccine, this is non-archery related. After getting my vaccine, there's a little bit of a less stress about the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'll take whatever chances it improves. As a fireman, I feel so much better having it. I really do. I enjoy being a fireman, so it's just something. For me, first 2 ends, really good, but after 4 ends, I seem to become very lost, and I have no idea how to fix it. We came back on the 16th end or so. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, Shazakim, but my recommendation to you is go back and watch this video, because we talked about that, how sometimes we come out of the gates on fire and then we get complacent and lose track. Well, you're super motivated, you get comfortable, and then you're shooting well, and then because we don't have a defined shot process, or we don't have a defined mental organization, we don't know how to get it back, or we don't stick to the plan. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan before, during, after, in case of everything. There's a lot that goes into it, and like I said, it gets us all. It can absolutely get us all. Got about 2 or 3 sips left here. Anybody else got their coffee left? Mine's almost gone. A little bit left there. Yeah, so in regards to future stuff, obviously special thank you to our sponsors of the podcast, AAE and Yost Archery Products and Yager Archery Products. Guys, please help support them. They're supporting Barebow, they're supporting us. It's nice to have them. Oh, and of course, Ben from XS Wings, gotta love them. Look for in the future, look for information on International Archery Institute. Those are all live classes. That's an organization that I am part of founding. That's about archery, continuing education for archery. We're teaching online coaching certifications. We're teaching forum classes, mental management classes, complete system classes, all level 4 coaches, a couple of level 3s, but mostly USA Archery level 4 coaches. I'm not saying that you need to, yes, I think having the information that comes along with a coaching certification is crucial and important, but I'm not trying to sell you the NTS for the only way to shoot barebow. I can tell you that much, because there's entirely too much proof that there's other ways to shoot and be successful out there for anyone to say that NTS is the best. I will tell you, if you have a lack of organization in your shot and your ability to do it, and you don't want to wait 5 years to figure it out, NTS is a good way to organize that. And that's really the focus, or the reason that I use it is, it's a good written plan on here. Here's the steps. This is what you should look for. But, look up International Archery Institute, look at the classes that we're offering. It's Tom Hinoja is, it was going to start in March. I'm going to have to push back, but he's teaching a Lanny Bassam mental management course. And it's all live. I'm teaching the NTS for barebow course right now on Monday nights. That one's going to be continued into April. Take the course. Understand, well, where does barebow marry up to the NTS for Olympic recurve? Where's the crossover? There's a lot of feedback and discussion. It's not just, it's not taking the NTS and saying this is the way you shoot it. It's really a wholesome discussion on what you got to do as a shooter. How can you identify with the steps of the NTS? I mean, that's what it is. So that class is tonight. I'll be running a new one in April. Sign up for it. It's on our Facebook page. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I needed to bring up. I don't think so. Teresa, you're very welcome. I hope you had a great weekend. I think I saw that you were out were you at the Rushmore Rumble? I thought you were. I don't remember. I remember looking at some names. I don't know if I saw it. Peace out, Tom. Good for you. All right, people. Coffee's gone. Coffee talk is over. You guys have a wonderful week. Remember, expectation. It's a score assassin. Don't do that. Have a plan. Peace.